Welcome to Atma Nirvriti, Chapter 2, Nirvishayama bodham. Chapter 2, of course, goes on that assumption that you have understood Chapter 1 experientially, not intellectually, not through analysis of the mind, but experientially you recognize I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am the witness of the body and the mind. I am the light in which the body and the mind shine. Yeah, by the time you get here, it is very clear. Yes, I am that witness. I can sense it. I recognize it experientially. It is not theory anymore. Yeah? It is not words that Ekta says or some guru says or some scripture says. It is my own recognition, my own inner recognition. Yeah? So, if that level has been reached, very good. Now you can move on to Chapter 2. Chapter 2 begins with this assumption that you practiced last week. You actually recognize the interval between two arisings. So if you recognized that the interval between two arisings is actually not like an interval. In fact, when I reverse the entire thing, it is actually a quietness in which a thought arises to disturb the quietness, and then it's back into quietness. That is the way it actually is. Yeah? If this has become very clear, you manage to reverse it and see it that way. Now you can understand the first verse of Chapter 2. Yeah? So let's go to the first verse. First, let's understand what is objects. What are the objects you know? Yeah, we know physical objects and mental objects. Physical objects are anything that we assume as matter when we take the stand as the body. Yeah, that is a physical object. A mental object is any thought or feeling related to that assumption of matter. Remember, your husband, wife, father, son, mother, child, everybody is matter. You are considering them as matter. Whenever you take the stand as the body, the other person becomes a body. Now that body is behaving like this with this body. When you are in that kind of a thinking, then you are assuming that that is matter. Yeah. So when I am taking the stand as the physical body, I am looking at the world as physical objects. Yes, that is physical objects. Mental objects, when I take the stand as the mind, I am constructing a story inside. Continuously this is going on. Yes, I create a mental picture of what the external world is or is not, what this person is saying or is not saying. I have a mental story. I have taken the stand as the mind. Yeah, and I'm experiencing mental objects. Mental objects are nothing but my own thoughts and the feelings that arise out of those thoughts and the whole drama that I'm playing in my own mind. Very clear? Physical objects and mental objects. Now objects are clear. Yeah. He who says that Consciousness is never experienced without these objects, which physical and mental objects. He is speaking from a superficial level. Means what? Till now, when I took the stand as the body and mind, what did I think? Oh, this physical body mind has consciousness, but this white couch does not have consciousness. This is a conscious being, this is an unconscious or non-living object. Is that correct? That's how we used to see, or some of us are still there taking the stand. Yes, this is the way even science sees it. What does science say? Science says there is the physical body, this physical body. Inside the physical body, there is a smaller space which is the mind. And inside the mind, there is a very little tiny dot which is the consciousness. And this does not apply to every physical body. This is only the living being. Yes, this is the perspective of science. This is the way we have all grown up with the same conditioning. Yeah, Advaita says, reverse it. Atmananda says, reverse this model. Yeah, see it how? Consciousness is the biggest. Inside that there is the smaller entity or level, which is the mind, and smaller than that or less than that is the physical body. Yeah. So it is not that the physical body of a living being or a non-living object determines whether the consciousness is there or not. It's the exact reverse. There is only consciousness, and consciousness manifests the mind. That mind manifests or projects the body. This projection works only for 16, 18 hours in the day. This projection halts at the end of the day. There is no body and mind projection happening. Yes, there is still the consciousness, the knowingness of I am resting, or I rested well, or I was sleeping very soundly. That knowing is happening in that off state, in that halted state. And again in the morning, what happens? Projection begins. Yeah? We have reversed the same thing that science was saying. Yeah? And we are seeing as consciousness is the biggest, within which there are minds, and from the mind the projection happens. When the mind rests back, it is the consciousness, it is the awareness, it is the knowingness. Yeah? So to say that the body is conscious, the mind is conscious, and the couch is not conscious is a very superficial level of understanding. It is the understanding when I take my stand as the body. It is the understanding when I take my stand as the mind. Yes? When I correct my stand to my pure experience, discarding all conditioning, I come to my pure experience. That is when I see it, that everything is this awareness. There is no object that I can prove that exists outside my field of awareness. I have no proof that the other room in the same house exists or not. It is not possible in my domain range of current experience. It can be an assumption that I can make. Yes, but it will never be that I can prove it with my direct experience. Yeah. So, when this becomes very clear, to drop hypothesis, to drop assumption, to drop a concept, and you come to direct experiencing and just being with the direct experience, then you are going to the deepmost level. Yes. I'll just give you an analogy that is used in the scriptures. The sky is infinite, space is infinite, it is formless. In that same sky, you see a cloud suddenly develop. And in that cloud, sometimes there is rain and then sometimes there is snow that comes out of it. So the sky or the space is like the consciousness. The cloud is like the mind, which has an abstract, no form, but kind of a form that I can sense. And then that inside that there is the physical body, the rain or the snow. So it just requires you to change your stand, just tweak your perspective, change the way you are looking at things. If somebody says, oh, that sky can never be experienced without the clouds, is it a valid statement? Is it valid? The sky cannot be experienced without the clouds. No, it is not a valid statement. Similarly, if somebody says that the consciousness cannot be experienced without physical and mental objects, is that a valid statement? No, it is a superficial statement. Is this clear? Yeah? You have to learn to reverse the model. I gave you this homework last week. Instead of seeing a train of thoughts, reverse it and see. Can you notice there is this background of quietness in which a thought arises, in which a sensation arises, in which a perception arises? So it's actually quietness, thought, quietness, or quietness, sensation, quietness. Start recognizing that background of quietness. It's just like a gestalt. No, it's a gestalt, right? Like this picture, if you look from one angle, you see the moon. When you look from another angle, you see a person's face. Maybe somebody sitting at the airplane window. Can you see that? It just requires a little tweaking of the way you are looking at it. You have to just tweak the way you are looking at the world, this body and the mind. Instead of taking the stand at the body, you take the stand as the awareness, the witness, the void, the Brahman. When you take that correct stand, you can see, oh, everything is this awareness. In this awareness, everything emerges in the morning, and in this awareness, everything shuts off in the night. I have no proof whether it exists after the shut off. Not in my direct experience. So it is just tweaking the way you look at something. Just like what you do to see the two different pictures of the gestalt. It's exactly like that. In one way, if you take a stand as the body, everything will look as physical objects, mental objects. But then you just change your perspective, tweak your perspective, take a different stand, and everything becomes the awareness. Everything becomes the consciousness. Yes. So, the clue from this is to take it how? Instead of seeing consciousness as a part, I see consciousness as the whole. Yes? When I see consciousness as the whole, then I see correctly. When I see consciousness as the part, then I get stuck in body and mind. First verse is very clear. So now we move on to the second verse. This is something that you have been practicing since Advaita level 1. Yeah, it's just in a little bit of different language. Atmananda. Verse 2.2. Yeah. So we have been doing this for some time now. You've been asking yourself the question, am I aware? Yes, and when you ask that question, it is nothing but a thought in the mind. Am I aware? The arising fades off. You go into that interval between two thoughts. Yeah? There is a gap. That is where the experience of awareness or the experience of consciousness happens. That is where you get your answer, but you cannot formulate because the witness or the consciousness does not speak. You come out of the gap and then the second thought emerges and says yes. The yes, the second thought came from the experience in the gap. Yes, the answer springs from the deepmost level. Yeah, those who know Malayalam, you can ask yourself the question, bodham. Those who don't can ask yourself this question, am I conscious? Am I conscious? Yeah. Or am I aware? Whichever works for you. It is the same. Awareness is equal to consciousness, is equal to witnessing void, is equal to Brahman, is equal to Atman, is equal to Shunyata, is equal to Purnata, is equal to emptiness, is equal to fullness, is equal to isness, is equal to presence. Words don't matter. Different scriptures have used different words. So your next homework, again and again, ask yourself this question, in whichever way it works for you. Am I aware? Yeah, that will automatically take you from the mind to the level of the awareness. Or am I conscious? It takes you from the level of the mind to the level of consciousness. Yeah. What happens in that pause? In that pause, that mind which was out in the world, it withdraws, it relaxes. Yes, like in flock somebody shared that they were doing the Buddha meditation and the technique of relax the meninges and smile just pushes them into the gap. So all meditation techniques take you to the same gap, to the same silence, to the same void. You just do them with closed eyes, and in Advaita you can do the same thing with open eyes. Yes, that's how you can draw a parallel between all the paths. All the paths are the same. They're taking you to the same pause in between two arisings. Yes. In some practices, it's the gap between the in-breath and the out-breath. It's the same gap. It is the same pause. Yeah. In some, it is the pause in between thoughts. It is the same pause. Yeah. Wherever you have progressed to, it doesn't matter whether you came through the path of closed eye meditation or you came through the path of open-eyed meditation. You reach the same place. There is only one home. Yes, and it cannot be a Hindu home versus a Christian home versus a Jewish home versus a Muslim home. Cannot be. It cannot be one guru's home and not the other guru's home. Not possible. No, it is all the same. It is one single home. That gap, that pause is where you will find peace. Yeah, that's why it's called Sat Chit Anand. Yeah, I did Sat in the first chapter. Yes, what was Sat? The moment you recognize that sense of I am, not in the words I. Yes, remember there is one fake I also and the real I. The fake I is the I thought, the one that creates the story that keeps saying, I like this, I don't like this, I. Why is he doing this to me? Why is she doing this to me? This is I thought. This is the fake I. We are not talking about this. We're talking about the sense of existing, the sense of being that I sense. That is sensed in the gap. There are no words there. If there are words, I have moved out of the gap and have become the I thought. Yes? There are no words there. That's why it's called an I sense. Yeah? In Atmananda's language, it is called I principle. Yeah? So these are the two I's. The fake I is the I thought. The real I is the I sense. The I sense is experienced again and again in the gap, in the silence. That is what is the deepmost level. Sat. Just being. Not I, the teacher, I, the sister, I, the friend, I, the whatever businessman, I, the businesswoman. No labels are there. Yeah? Just a sense of being. That is the meaning of Sat. Yeah? Isness, presence, being. Yeah? Every time you go there is this sense of being conscious, sense of being aware. That is why when you come out of there, you answer, yes, I'm conscious. Yes, I'm aware. Yeah? That sense of being conscious, not just the sense of being, but now it has an added quality of being conscious. That is called Chid. Yeah? And just the recognition of the sense of being of the nature of consciousness, not just I am conscious, but everything is consciousness. Just this recognition of Sad and Chid brings peace. That is called Ananda. Yes. Now this peace is devoid of the pleasure and pain of achievement and non-achievement. There is no achievement and non-achievement. There's no happiness and sadness. Those, I'm not talking about that pleasure that you experience in those graphs. Yes, I'm talking about peace. Peace is the straight line in the center. It is devoid of the ups and downs. It's a single straight equanimous line. Yeah, an equanimous state, absolute peace. That is Ananda. Yeah, so that is the meaning of the deepmost level. Sat, Chit, Ananda. So pat yourself on the back if you've had a few glimpses here and there. Perfect. Now we're going to go deeper into this understanding. Yeah. Verse 2.3. Here means where? In the gap, in the pause, in the interval between two arisings. Or if you have managed to reverse it and recognize it as a witnessing void in which there is just one thought, then for you, the entire witnessing void, the awareness, the consciousness. When you are there and when you come out of it, the second thought comes out and says, yes, I am conscious. What is this thought referring to? This void, this gap, this pause. In this gap, is there an object that the thought is referring to? No, there is no mental object, there is no physical object. Yes? So, it is not referring to anything, not even silently referring to anything as the object of consciousness. Yes, this is called objectless consciousness. We did this already last week in the question answer session. Yeah, objectless consciousness, where there is just the sense of being. Hona. You remember I told you this? Hona. मैं हूं नहीं. केवल होना. Simply being, just being, not I am. Yes? You cancel the I, there is just the amness. Yes? So it is objectless consciousness. There is no object. There is just a presence, like the space is and still it isn't. Yeah? Similarly, it is objectless. You cannot refer to any physical or mental object. Very clear?